Well, the market's still holding above 16,700 odd mark. From the high, we've come off around 15 points odd, and that's because of only one stock, that's Infosys. Pull up the intraday chart. That stock has seen a bit of a downtick. Just pull up the intraday chart. Yeah. Infosys has moved a little bit lower. It was as is trading in the red. It's moved a little bit lower, so keep an eye out on that one. The other one we're looking at is Fortis Health from the broader markets. That stock, suddenly there's big volumes out there. The Malaysian parent, in fact, in Malaysia out there, the traded stock, that as well is up close to around 8% odd. But Fortis is moving higher and moving higher on very large volumes. So that one you should note as well. But the other one that's doing well is Nalco. This after aluminium prices scaled fresh highs that we've seen in the last 5 years or so. This after aluminium smelters in China's Xinjiang province, which accounts for close to around 20% of Chinese aluminium output, has been told to curtail production. Now, analysts estimate the cut to amount to roughly around 10% of their total output. Now, that's not a very large number, but hopes are that production cuts may be extended to other smelters as well. Now, brokerage house Kotak, well, they have turned even more positive on aluminium prices. They expect aluminium global market to get into a deficit from this calendar year, that's 2021. Earlier, they were factoring in that it will get into a deficit from 2022. Now, the key reasons include we have seen floods out there are power shortages, as well as strict energy consumption policies. They highlight that these problems of maybe power shortages as well as floods, they're transient. But the energy consumption restrictions, well, that's the one could pose a medium-term risk. Now, a deficit market, tepid supply, that's what could keep aluminium prices elevated. And so they upgraded their price estimates for aluminium for the next couple of years by 4 to around 9% odd. Now, Kotak is particularly positive on Nalco, and so they upgraded the stock to buy from sell. They also increased the EBITDA estimates by around 15 to around 35% for the next couple of fiscals, which in turn increases its fair value to around 100 rupees per share from around 80 rupees per share. Now, the key factors they cite is higher aluminium prices owing to global deficit. They say the stock is trading at around 3.5 times EV on EBITDA, which they believe is attractive. And they also add that the strong cash flows will likely be able to take care of their capex plans, which was a bit of a worry for some analysts that how will they fund their capex plans. But Prakash, your view on Nalco, everyone's expecting a good set of numbers. They delivered a howler in the first quarter, but aluminium prices, aluminium could do what steel was doing a few years ago. Suddenly it's moved into a deficit. Would you play Nalco or would you stick to Hindalco?
It's a question of if you're convinced with the aluminium story, Nigel, the idea is to straddle both sides of the business. So Hindalco comes with a fair amount of product specific value addition and geographical presence, which is far more superior to what Nalco does. But Nalco comes with cost advantages and scale in some of the pockets that are more basic. But my sense is Hindalco has seen a huge run up, and thanks to the fact that aluminium cycles are slightly much more smoother than as compared to, let's say, a copper or for that matter even steel. And given the kind of huge surge in demand for aluminium, which is likely and which is continuing, whether it's from the automobile or from the capital goods sector, there is very clear indication that Nalco is underpriced, and that's exactly what the value unlocking could do. And just because it was owned by the government and things took some time to unfold, it's always been available at slightly lesser multiples. But that's changing very rapidly, and people will recognize the inherent value in this. So I'm very positive on this. In fact, we've recommended this to clients at about 80, and we saw it move down, come back. So it's had its share of consolidation also. But going forward, I think Nalco will probably be very clear in terms of helping you get an upside of at least at 20, 25, 30% over the next 12, 18 months. So stay put. Buy it on dips if you like. And as you said, the last time the numbers came, it was a huge opportunity. It kind of corrected itself significantly on both sides. But stay put. I think it's here for a secular trend for the next few months, next few quarters at least.
Okay, fair enough. Now let's talk about the stock that's going to be perhaps the most important stock come Monday, Bharti Airtel. Yesterday it was down quite a bit. Today it's tried to reclaim 600, though at higher level again there's a bit of a selling pressure. Now 598 again on the stock. Of course, the board meeting is on Sunday for fundraising. And Rima, of course, we can't be getting into what the street buzz is, but tell us, what should we watch out for?
Well, as you point out, the stock has seen some recovery after yesterday's fall. Yesterday's reaction was also had surprise baked in, because up until now, the company had been steadfast in maintaining that they don't need to do any fundraise because the leverage on the company's books is comfortable. In fact, even in Q1, that's a month back, in the conference call, they had said, and I quote, that there is fundamentally no need to really delever as the company's net debt to EBITDA stands at 3 times, and that number will only improve because the free cash flow from India is likely to go up, especially with the tariff hikes that the company has announced. Now, as we're not privy to the details of what is likely to be announced on Sunday, but the street expects a largish fundraise. And from a signaling perspective, what will be tracked very closely is if the promoters infuse money. If the promoters infuse money, it will be taken positively, because if you remember, in May of 2020, when the stock price had run up to levels of 600, we had the promoters come in and sell their stake. It was a 2.75% stake sale, and after that the stock was a rank underperformer. Again, there is no immediate need to raise funds from a company's point of view. It's not that they have some chunky repayments due, but over the medium term, yes, they have the AGR liabilities to pay, they have spectrum dues which the company needs to repay, and plus probably they are preparing themselves for the 5G auctions and the investments which are needed for 5G. So over a medium term, yes, the fund requirements are always there for a telecom company. Back to you.
Okay, Rima, thanks a lot for that. So that's an important point. Last year when they sold stake, that was just the time when Bharti was really getting out of a multi-year bear market. And after that, it went into a mini bear market once again. And now, once again, the stocks recovered, and at 620, there's fundraising. So the street got a bit worried about equity dilution. I think Rima makes a very interesting point, Prakash, right? If this time, and that's a big if this time promoters actually come and buy, that would send a right message as well, right? I mean, they could have done that when the price was lower, but perhaps waited till that price has arrived. But if they do invest, would that be positive? And if they do not, what would be the view on the stock?
That's true, Anuj. If you are willing to look at the glass half full, then the fundraise comes at a time when they're gearing up for an accelerated rollout of 5G. The kind of OneWeb, the progress they've made on the OneWeb project is significant. It's been very quiet, very discreet till now, but now you started to sense the kind of potential it holds, right? And that puts the company into a different orbit and not have to depend on your basic mobile, the telephony that it survives on or it thrives on. The second thing is, if you were to be slightly negatively disposed, you could look at saying, they don't need the money at this point in time, so why talk about a fundraise? But it all depends on the nature of the fundraise, the structure, the product that they use, what kind of a balance sheet impact it will have. Because, as you said, last time when the promoters sold out, it was probably because they were anticipating this AGR mountain to be climbed, which was a very significant overhang. That's out of the way, almost out of the way, or it's kind of been mitigated to a large extent. And now it's expansion. So if money were to be raised for expansion, things will probably fall in place. And I don't see any reason why you would derate the stock for some sort of a thing which is more positive in the long term. So yes, it could have a short-term impact, but then there are believers who will come and buy it at lower levels, given the fact that the ARPU trajectory is what's eventually going to drive everything, and then everything else builds around it. So I'm quite positive on it. If it gives you that dip, buy it. Of course, after knowing the reason why the dip has come out, if it does. But if it doesn't, then I think Bharti is on its way to scale that 700 mount as well at some point in time very soon.
Prakash, we'll leave it there today. Thanks a lot for joining us. Enjoy your weekend. And of course, we'll talk to you next week.